Hi guys. Sorry we're running a little bit late. We'll give everybody a couple of minutes to finish joining. Once the numbers slow down, we'll get started. So happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, Christy.
Same to you, Bracken.
All right. Give everybody a couple more minutes to join. Looks like it's slowing down a bit. Okay, cool. Well, guys, welcome to our webinar. So today we're going to be talking about reducing payroll waste by up to 67% while also improving company productivity. So it's a great topic and we're excited to be sharing it with you today. Today we have Christy here with us and I'm Bracken. Christy has been with BusyBusy since 2013.
As a client.
Oh yeah, as a client. So she's pretty much a BusyBusy expert. So we're very lucky to have her joining us today. She has used the product from a client standpoint as well from a BusyBusy employee standpoint. So she's seen all the ins and outs. She's an industry expert and we're super excited to have her join us today. Yeah, let's see. We still have some people joining. So Christy is going to go over the webinar and we will have time for Q&A at the end. So if you have questions or comments, please chat them in. And we also love to hear where you guys are from. So if you want to tell us, then you can put that in there as well. And yeah, we'll let Christy pull up her screen and we'll finish the intro and get started. All right, so I can see the screen, but would somebody mind chatting in, letting us know if you can see Christy's screen okay? Awesome, awesome. Thank you, everybody. Okay, Christy, so screen looks good. Just to finish the little intro here, Christy has, oh, here it is. She's worked directly with the founder as a client, like I said, but is now part of the BusyBusy team. So just really, she has so much experience and we're so lucky to have her. She owned and operated a construction business. So, I mean, she's been in your guys' shoes and she has helped make BusyBusy what it is today. So we're super excited to have her join us. You might be wondering why I'm here. I work in our business development and partnerships department. I grew up in the construction industry. My dad is and was a general contractor pretty much my entire life. So I've seen it and I've seen the stress it can put on you guys. So BusyBusy is great for helping take some of that stress off. So Christy, take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Bracken. So part of what we're talking about today is reducing the stress and the waste that we see that is caused by the payroll process. And the main thing we'd like you guys to take away from this today is that you are very able to adopt a proactive approach for payroll processing. So what we're going over today is defining what payroll waste is and its effect on companies like yours so that we can understand how to reduce it. And then to answer the question of how this webinar is going to help you, the idea is that it's going to save you time, it's going to save you money because money is time, and it's going to decrease that payroll headache that we all suffer from. But there is going to be some homework here. So, you know, we hate those webinars that we get on and they give us a bunch of stuff. And at the end, we're like, well, okay, what do we do now? So what we're going to do today is we're going to make sure that you have some homework. We're going to identify some things that you can take away and look for within your organization. And we're going to give you some tools on how to solve once you find that payroll waste. We're going to give you those tools on how to be able to solve that for your organization. So let's define payroll waste. I've run well over 1,500 payrolls in my career. And when you convert that, I'm sad to say, when you convert that into actual hours worked, it's about 10,000 hours. So if you put those all together in a work week, you could say that I've spent 5 straight years, day in and day out, running payroll and managing the payroll process for over 25 different companies. Now, I've been doing this for a minute or two, and we won't talk about the age difference between Bracken and I, because, I could be her mother, but that's neither here nor there. But those 10,000 hours are scattered throughout my career, but it's still a huge chunk of my life. So I figured I kind of know what payroll waste is. I've experienced it. I've helped other companies solve for it. So I took a stab at defining it. And what I came up with is that payroll waste is the time and money spent during the payroll process that should be used for other valuable business activity. And before I used BusyBusy, it took me a day to a day and a half to process payroll, as I'm sure it does for a lot of you still, whether you're using BusyBusy to its fullest potential or not. I implemented it for an excavating company and a trucking company. And once I was actively using BusyBusy, I got it down to a few hours a week. So according to the 2021 Construction Business Report for companies like ours, 32% of construction companies say that manual processes are where their business experience the most inefficiency. These inefficiencies are the perfect example of payroll waste. Now, of those 32%, they're talking about manual process throughout the business activity. But we know that there are a lot of manual processes that happen within the payroll realm. And typically we have a little bit of an attitude of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. If your payroll process leans heavily on manual processes, it may not be broken, but it is certainly not efficient. And this kind of payroll waste can continue to happen even after implementing a solution like BusyBusy. And here's why. When companies like yours or mine back in the day adopt a solution like BusyBusy, there's usually a specific goal in mind right out of the gate. And most often that goal is to get guys off of paper and onto their personal devices or company supplied devices to clock in and out so that you can get rid of paper. And once that's successful, you're done, right? Well, no. And we're going to show you today how you can do things above and beyond that to further reduce the payroll waste within your organization. You can use features in time tracking software like ours, like a customizable clock-in question to save you time, data scanners, facial recognition. All of these are going to reduce time spent running payroll and eliminate the inefficiencies that hijack your time and allow you to do other things that benefit your business, or allow you to maybe take a vacation that you've been wanting to take. And Bracken has a story about someone that she visited with recently that would highlight this for you beautifully. Bracken?
Unmuted. Okay. So yeah, I do have a really interesting story about that. Growing up in the GC world, my mom often did payroll, and I've seen the struggles of it. So story isn't about my mom, but it is about a client of BusyBusy who's been using BusyBusy for, I think they're going on like a year and a half or so now. They're a tile installation company. And anyways, one of my coworkers was talking with them recently, and the gal who runs their payroll and kind of runs the office stuff, she was saying that once they started using BusyBusy, she was able to take the first real vacation, 2-week long vacation in the middle of the summer for the first time that she can't even remember the last time she was able to do that because of what a broken process they had for payroll. So to give you a little bit more detail on that, she mentioned that it was taking her, which same as what Christi mentioned, it was taking her like 5 to 6 hours every week to process payroll. And that was maybe even on a good week. And once they started using BusyBusy, she was able to take her first vacation and who knows how long, because they moved from paper timesheets to BusyBusy, and she was able to access payroll from anywhere and the documents she needed to run payroll from anywhere, like from a computer in her hotel room that was overlooking the beach. So from that point, she said that her name's Raven, and Raven said that her time to run payroll went from that 5 to 6 hours a week to 30 minutes. super easy to hop on BusyBusy from anywhere and get it going. She said that if there was a slight error and she needed to text one of the guys, it would maybe take her 45 minutes, but that additional 5 hours, 5.5 hours that she now had back in her um, back in her work week made it possible for her to, I mean, do all of her other duties. And she did a lot for the company. She does a lot for the company, and it gave her the opportunity to, you know, work more on those and focus more on those. She did the estimating for the company among like many other things. So one thing I really want to drive home for you guys is like why BusyBusy does the things that we do. I mean, we're constantly working to improve and add new features because we want to help our clients have a more practical approach to payroll. And I think that's something that I mean, Raven's story just really takes that home for us and shows us what having more time in your week can do. So,
And the freedom, right? The
yeah, the
freedom
freedom.
for
I mean,
everything to be up there in the cloud where you can pull it down and do what you need to do, and you're not sitting at your desk waiting.
access it from anywhere. So John
Yeah.
didn't send in his time. Well, that's not a problem anymore because John's time is in the cloud automatically. So, I mean, it's awesome. So we love hearing those
Yeah.
stories.
And let's talk about that. So what do those manual processes and inefficiencies look like in your world? When we talk about the payroll process, there's so many steps to it. You know, you gather all of the data, then you need to verify the data, then you need to process the data. And then there's the things that people don't always think about, like storing that data and dealing with errors within that data. So we're going to go through kind of a week in your life as a payroll administrator. And so what we talk about is, here's a payroll administrator who hasn't brought a time tracking solution on yet, or maybe has, but they met that first goal of getting their guys off of paper and onto a time tracking solution, but they really haven't gotten into the depths of the product and found out all of the other things it can do for them. So Monday afternoon rolls around, your field guys start dropping off their time from last week. You've got a coffee stain time card, and you always hope it's coffee because you never know. And you can't read it. Their handwriting is awful, or the time card is missing and that guy happens to be on vacation. Or if you're really lucky, everyone has started texting you their hours. And isn't that fun to have to be tied to your phone all day watching those texts come in? Then you harass whoever you need to get whatever was missing or couldn't be read. And by Tuesday morning, you've got it all and you're starting to verify it. And you come across the fact that someone forgot a day, or someone didn't put down the right job, or someone didn't put down a job at all. And so you're back at it, reaching back out to try and find and verify that data. And if your guys help you out by adding stuff up, you've always got to wonder whether or not that math is correct. Like, you appreciate the help, but manual calculations are a minefield for inaccuracies. And lastly, it's a common misconception that an employee cashing a paycheck signifies that they agreed with what they've been paid. Well, that's just not true. And an employee has 3 years in which to bring a complaint against you as the employer for unpaid hours worked, whether they cash that paycheck or not. But if you've had them sign that time card, verify that time card, it's certainly more difficult to make that case that they didn't agree with the hours at the time. And we all know, or at least I remember very clearly, that to take a guy's time out in the field, get him on the phone and say, hey, George, why isn't your time correct? I'm taking him away from the time that he's making money for the company. And that supervisor's not super happy with me for taking that guy's time. But what choice do I have? I've got to get that data verified, right? So that's how you spend your Tuesday. And that's just a ton of fun. And now it's time to process. You've got it all verified, and you found some errors, and you've sent it out to be re-signed, and you've gotten the supervisor's sign off. And it's always the best practice to have everyone re-sign it. And then you need to enter it into your payroll system. And I'm guessing with, I don't know how many of there are 40 of you on here, you've got 40 different payroll solutions you're possibly using and 40 different processes. So whether you do it in-house, you have a CPA run it for you, or you use a third-party payroll provider, you've still got to take the time to get that data entered somehow, some way. And here's the one that people don't always think about. It's hump day, it's Wednesday afternoon, comes and goes. You've got payroll entered and ready to go. It's confirmed. You feel great. Everybody's going to get paid. But you know that there are going to be times that you have to access that data to file a payroll tax return or confirm an error that was made or do an annual workman's comp audit or respond to an employee complaint that their hours weren't correct. And you have to ask yourself, okay, where are those hours? Is that when I started to put them in the filing cabinet, or did I throw them in my bag because it's from last week, or are they in a closet buried in the spreadsheet? We all do a lot in spreadsheets still, or maybe several of those places. And before I started using BusyBusy, my answer was several of those places. Sometimes I worked from home. Sometimes it was in my bag. Sometimes I worked from Starbucks. You just never know. And then how much time do you spend sharing some level of access with your employees? You're either sending them their time cards because they need them to review something. You're resending them their W-2s because they've decided to finally do their taxes. Or maybe they need some time card information because they're applying for a mortgage or a loan. And I was always nervous that I was going to give the wrong pay stub to somebody, but we'll see. And then the biggest one with storing data is probably the most personal story for me. And that was probably the scariest situation a business owner or admin can find themselves in. And that's when the data that's stored somewhere needs to be used to make your case in court. For my personal story, it was that we were a family-owned business and we are an excavating company. And the GC came back and didn't want to pay us for a bunch of change order work that we had done. And they took it so far as to insinuate that because my son was a foreman, that he didn't really work for the company, that I was basically falsifying his time to add to these change orders to pad the bill. Well, the guy with the most backup wins their day in court. And with the data from BusyBusy, I was able to prove that Cade was where I said he was, and he was doing what I said he was doing. And they didn't have a leg to stand on. So what we did was we took things a step further in BusyBusy. We used require on-site to ensure that people were on the job before clocking in. We used location reminders to reduce the missed punches because an admin adding the entry would have been questioned in court. And we used supervisor tools for that second level of time approval and accountability. And lastly, we used photos and notes to document the delays. Think lumber stacks dropped where the water line needs to go, and to prove that the work was done when and how we claimed. And we have a lot of clients on this webinar today, many that use BusyBusy and many that we hope will in the future. And when I did my homework today about my audience, I realized a lot of you aren't using some of the things that helped me survive my day in court. And if I'm being honest, this process took months, not days. And it might have been years if I hadn't had my BusyBusy data to back me up. And we all know that if there's one opportunity for there to be an error in payroll, there are a million. And sometimes these errors end up causing an underpayment or an overpayment to your team. That's waste. Sometimes they end up with a nasty notice in the mail from someone like the IRS, which we all dread, but it happens. And then there's payroll waste in the time that it takes to address those. In 2021 alone, the IRS issued $5 billion in fines to employers attributed to payroll tax reporting errors. So how can you fix that? You can automate, you can leverage technology, and you can lean on experts. And we all know that nagging sensation that something happened today or yesterday or last week that is going to come back to bite you. I would be super interested. I didn't want to take the time to do a poll here, but I would be super interested in how many of you know 2 or 3 days later that an injury occurred on the job site. Well, now you're outside of your 24-hour notice regulation from your workers' comp company. That always feels great. So using tools like safety sign-off, facial recognition, which we've just recently launched, and automated payroll processing all allow you to sleep at night. And knowing you've reduced the possibility for errors to near nothing, and you've done all you can to avoid liability. So Bracken, I know you were going to share an interesting story in regards to an injury that you had come across in working through your partnerships.
Yeah, so like Christi said, we have quite a few participants on here, both who are BusyBusy active users and those who are not currently using BusyBusy, who we obviously would love to have using BusyBusy for all the many reasons we've stated already. But just to drive the point home of, I mean, BusyBusy is not just a clock in and clock out app. You know, we're built for the construction industry, and we're built to help you in unfortunate situations if they are to come up. So just to kind of drive that safety point home, we unfortunately hear stories like this pretty often in our line of work. But one client in specific, he had an employee who was totally fine, left the job site one night, went home, dropped an engine on his hand, and came into work the next day and faked the injury. So as much as we like to believe that everybody has our best interest in mind, that's not always the case. So came into work, faked the injury, and ended up taking this now client of ours to court. And unfortunately, he won. And it ruined the company's safety score. It ruined their workers' comp rate. Like, it really threw them for a loop. And the owner of this company mentioned that, I mean, he estimates that this cost them millions of dollars over the year to get their workers' comp rate back to normal and their safety score back to normal. So before this contractor found BusyBusy, and after this incident had happened, the only thing he could think of to protect him and the other employees is to have them come back to the office every day after being on the job site and click a little box in Excel saying, nope, we weren't injured, we're okay, we're good to go. And then they could now drive home. So once he heard about BusyBusy with the time tracking, the job costing, the payroll processing, and the safety sign off, it was a no-brainer. So unfortunately, like, if you haven't experienced this, great, but likely at some point you will. So it's just having that little safety net of BusyBusy is super, I mean, it's super important when you end up in a case like Christie's. So just kind of wanted to add that, because fortunately not everybody always has our best interest in mind, and we want to help you with that. So
yeah, I think that's a great story. And I think everybody on here probably has one that's similar, that just kind of makes you shake your head. And for our existing BusyBusy users, we wanted to spend some time highlighting today that while you are using BusyBusy, we have spent a lot of time in the last 2 years really focused on how we can help protect you as employers. What kind of features can we put out there that not only protect you, but that take those little slices of time and give them back to you that you can reinvest back into your company. And so those are the kinds of things we're highlighting for you today. Something to think about is that when it comes to payroll, 49% of workers would begin a new job search after only 2 issues with their paychecks, no matter whose fault they are. If the error was that the employee forgot to clock in their mind, you should have caught it. Ultimately, these employees are saying that the company, and therefore you, are the reason they're not being paid correctly. They get up every morning and spend their day working hard and for some pretty dangerous trades, and they expect that every minute will be accurately accounted for. And once that isn't the case, the trust is broken. So we're also trying to help you figure out, what about BusyBusy can you use to make things even better? Can you implement facial recognition? Are you aware that we have a payroll product? Is being able to ask a question at clocking in something that would save you a couple of hours a week? And unfortunately, because each of you are so unique, it's probably better that we're able to hop on a call with you directly and review what it is that you use within BusyBusy and what we can offer you that maybe you don't, and that can actually get you to that big 67%. So we'll continue on and talk about that. And one of the things that you may not know that BusyBusy has, because it's on our busybusy.com website, so it's not within the actual product, but we offer online calculators to identify payroll waste. And it's something that you might have been interested in the beginning, and maybe you've been using BusyBusy a while and haven't thought about much. So we'd love for you to visit these calculators. There's calculators all over the web, but we're really pleased with ours and think that they could probably help you do that homework of not only recognizing where payroll waste happens, but figuring out how you can really dive into it and correct it. So keep in mind that that's something you have there. And we'll take a short break from the actual presentation now and see if anyone had any questions chat in or that we've had emailed in the meantime. Bracken, have you had any that you think we could address at this point?
Yep, so we have a couple in the Q&A. So definitely if anything pops up for you, other people might be thinking at it as well. So please throw it in there because we're happy to help out. So let me pull up this question. You know, I would think that Zoom would just be super easy for me to use, but sometimes I struggle with it. All right, so let's see. Jamie from Winchester said, it sounds like BusyBusy has its own payroll product of sorts. Am I hearing that correctly? So
You
are.
you definitely are. So we've been partnering with a company called Gusto. Some of you may be familiar with it for about 2 years now. And we've come up with a product that lives within the BusyBusy user interface that allows you with a simple click, I think maybe two, to push all of your BusyBusy data into a payroll product powered by Gusto. And then all of that is taken care of for you. It's fairly new, and so we've had a lot of fun getting adoption up, but it's certainly something that we can visit with you afterwards if you chat in and let us know that that's something you'd like to learn more about.
Yeah, definitely. There's a couple of questions on here. I don't know that they fit with what we've talked about so far. So I'm going to have you keep going and we'll throw some more
Okay.
questions in at the end. And then any questions that we don't get to, we will reach out to you guys and make sure we get them answered because we want to help you out. So
Okay.
back at you, Christy.
Thanks, Bracken. So the next question is, we've talked about the payroll process. We've talked about the 5 steps and where you can shave off little bits here and there to really reduce that payroll waste that your company might be experiencing. And the next question is, where else are you losing money when it comes to payroll? And this is a difficult conversation to have, but the reality is that you're losing money to time theft. It's just a reality of where we are in the world today. And the topic of time theft, even the title time theft tends to get people pretty charged, and people have an opinion on this. And we love the employees that use our product, and this certainly isn't an opportunity for us to throw them under the bus, but it is really, really personal to me. And it is the #1 reason I brought on BusyBusy back in the day. And it was a day, it was a bit ago. But when I brought on BusyBusy, my husband had this just implicit, he just had this level of trust with his guys. And on our side, I was seeing that it looked like one of the guys just always had just a little bit more overtime than everybody else. And when I brought it up to him, his, of course, response was, and no, I did not invite him on this webinar today to fight with me about this in case any of you have family-owned business. But back in the day, I said, yeah, I think that he's doing something. And he says, no, he's there before everybody else and he leaves after everybody else and he's our longest employee. And how dare you even ask? So I found BusyBusy and knew that it had these GPS capabilities. And so we took the time to implement GPS in some stages, very strategically. Now, I know most of you have GPS required of your employees. And so that means that for those of you that are already using BusyBusy, they have to have their location services turned on for them to be able to even clock in. So that's what we did first. And what we found out was the guy that I had the sneaking suspicion about was actually clocking in at home, 45 minutes away from the job. And when we brought it up to him, because now we've got data to back it up and it's not just a hunch, he said, well, I was not comfortable asking for a raise. And so I thought that if I just clocked in 45 minutes away, I was essentially giving myself that raise and I didn't have to ask you. That kind of made me a little uncomfortable because certainly as a business owner, that's not what we want to hear. And when I took the time to figure it out, it cost our company $18,000 a year for that particular gentleman to be clocking in from home. So a lot of you guys are already doing this, but you can take it one step further. again, when I did my homework and I looked at the features that were most used by this particular audience, I realized that the on-site reminders, that when the guys pull up to the job site, it says, hey, George, I can see that you're at the job site. Would you like to clock in? A lot of that isn't being utilized. We utilized it, and it just saved us about $15,000 a year by not estimating when those punches were happening. Sure, they're going to call you and say, hey, I forgot to clock in, and I'm pretty sure I was here by 7. Well, were you? Or were you there at 7:10? Because those 10 minutes add up, as we all know. And lastly, what we did was we implemented the require on-site. And this is when we discovered that, for those of you that don't know, required on-site means that we're going to set up a geofence around that particular job, and your employees have to be within that circle to clock in. And what we found then was that we had 2 guys that always ride shared. And I don't know about all of you, but we paid for our guys' gas for the company trucks. And it was okay that they used that gas to get to and from the job site. Well, they thought since we were paying for their gas, well, they should go ahead and clock in at the gas station. And that was probably 5 or 6 blocks away, and I need you on the job site. So we kind of figured that after implementing that, we saved about another $10,000 that first year. So I would say that in the first year alone of using BusyBusy, and this is back before most of the features that I'm really highlighting for you today were even available, this is when it saved us about 40 grand. So it's pretty simple, and it changes the conversation from being an accusation or an assumption about what your guys are doing to an actual data-driven factual conversation. And it creates a culture of accountability. And it's an accountability that you don't necessarily have to enforce. We can enforce for you. And we're really happy to do so. And to just drive that. Oh, I'm sorry, Bracken, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna jump in and drive that home for you, because I mean, I've been an employee. I am an employee, and I know that I like most people do, to receive recognition for the work I've done. So I think for me personally, BusyBusy gives me that opportunity to be like, hey, look at what I did today. Like, look at what we're doing on the job site. But another thing that time theft is it's a touchy subject. It's a gross title, like you said, but I think what we've heard from employees who use BusyBusy and from company owners who use BusyBusy is that it's not something that they've implemented to babysit their employees. They're not looking for a babysitter. They're not looking for a nanny. They're not. It's not something gross and evil. But it does. It changes the conversation from, hey, why do you always have so much more overtime than everybody else has, and you guys drive to work together? Or, why are you always here at 7 and leaving at 5? Or, I mean, all of those fun things, rather than like, why is it that way? And it feels like an accusation to more of like a factual base, like, hey, you can't clock in at Starbucks. I wish that we could. I wish that I could, but we can't do that, and it's got to change type of situation. Hey, this can't keep happening. We need to fix it. So it gives business owners the opportunity to have that support in asking those questions, and they have that factual data. And then either the employees are going to change, and they're going to be a great employee, and it's like, oh yeah, sorry. It gives them a perfect out. And if they don't, then it helps you weed out employees who, I mean, maybe shouldn't be working there, it's hard. It sucks, especially, I mean, in Christi's situation, where this guy had been an employee for how many years? Nobody likes that feeling. So it just gives you more of an open door into a conversation rather than an accusation.
Agreed. And this next slide really drives it home further. Software Advice is a third-party group that advises companies throughout the world on what kind of softwares they should be using. And they did a study that unfortunately reported that 25% of employees, so let's say you have a team of 20 guys, that means 5 of them have admitted to exaggerating their time worked, and that they've admitted to exaggerating that time worked 75% of the time. So if you've got 5 guys working 40 hours, that means 30 hours of those were exaggerating in some way, shape, or form. And that's 100 and what? Do the math, 150 hours that you now can assume have been exaggerated. So let's use some tools. Let's use some tools to keep that from happening. And here again, the American Society of Employers estimates that 20% of every dollar earned by a US company, and this isn't construction-based, but just as an overall data point, is lost to employee time theft. So here I would just really, really encourage you to refer back to those calculators, play with the different scenarios using your own data to calculate the impact for your business. I'm not saying don't trust. I'm saying create a culture in which trust is innate and you don't have to worry about those kinds of things happening. So how are we going to solve this time theft? BusyBusy has some tools that are really going to help with that. Facial recognition is something we've just released recently. So not only are you not going to worry about buddy punching, but you could take it one step further and do a visual background verification. Now, am I hoping that none of them are clocking in the Porta-John? Yeah, we all hope we're not going to get that in the background. Is it probably going to happen? If it does, I want you to text me the picture because I'd love to see it. But that makes sure that they're not clocking in their car, they're not clocking in at the Starbucks, whether you use on-site verification or not. That facial recognition could be highly helpful in being able to determine whether or not those kinds of things are happening. Digital signatures, again, it's not the law that you create, that you always collect a digital signature on a timesheet, but it is a best practice. And the reason it's a best practice is that it allows you to protect yourself, and it allows them to protect themselves and verify that information. And we've talked about location-based reminders and how I use them, and on-site required and how I use them. Those really, you guys, if you're not already using them, plan some time to visit with one of us and talk about how we can use it. You know, I know sometimes we have truckers, sometimes we pay for travel time. We have workflows that work for all of those. So really take the time to visit with us and find out. Time card accuracy verification, at the end of the day, you're getting one more accuracy check to say, was my time accurate today? I don't remember what, you guys, I'm at the point in my life where I don't remember what happened Monday unless I wrote it down. Some of these guys don't remember on Friday. Did I get there at 7? Did I get there at 7:10? Let's ask them that daily. Another feature that is really highly usable is the schedule or time-based clock-in restrictions. We've recently released this to where you can restrict a guy from clocking in early based on a schedule or based on a specific time. If you guys aren't supposed to start until 7, it restricts them from clocking in at 6:50 and getting those extra 10 minutes that for most of us roll directly into overtime. And then, of course, you can use daily project reports as a great way to communicate what's gone on that particular job for the day. And now I'm going to do something that I really questioned about whether or not I wanted to do it, but this next slide is actually going to be a video that I'm going to share with you. And it's not something we normally do in a webinar, but it ties a lot of these things together. And it talks about a tool that I haven't really highlighted for you yet. And so it's kind of awkward and I kind of hate to do it, but at the same time, I'm excited for you guys to see this video. So I'm going to share this video with you, and then we'll get back together at the end.
If you own a business, there's no avoiding payroll and the time and stress that comes along with it. However, whether you do payroll in-house or rely on a third party, BusyBusy will make your payroll process easier, faster, and more accurate. How much faster? BusyBusy users report their payroll process is 67% faster with BusyBusy, while at the same time increasing their payroll accuracy. BusyBusy has many amazing pro features. Some customers use all of them, and some use just a handful. But there is one pro feature that nearly everyone uses, and that's BusyBusy's payroll scanner. Because when it comes to doing payroll, this one tool makes everyone feel like a pro. BusyBusy's payroll scanner will give you hours of your life back by quickly scanning your time cards for possible issues so you don't have to spend hours looking for them yourself. Things like missing time card signatures, time entry conflicts, processed time off, open time entries, and that the pay period is complete. Plus, it's simple to locate and fix any issue that the scanner may find. When it's time to do payroll, BusyBusy makes it easy to export your payroll data for your own payroll needs or submit everything to your preferred third-party payroll processor. And which payroll processor will work with BusyBusy? Well, all of them. That's because BusyBusy uses both custom macro solutions and direct automated integrations that work with all accounting and payroll software solutions. Yes, even yours. So whether you want BusyBusy to go straight to your payroll solution or have us send the info to your accounting software and let them do the rest, you're in luck. BusyBusy will work for you. Better time tracking equals better payroll. So what are you waiting for? Start doing your payroll faster, easier, and more accurately with BusyBusy's payroll scanner, because saving 67% of your time on payroll is going to feel 100% amazing.
And I would just take some time to mention to you all that having used BusyBusy back in the day, if I'd had a payroll scanner that could tell me who was missing a punch or when there was some kind of a discrepancy, when a signature was missing, instead of having to look at the PDF and scroll through to find those signatures, I don't even know how much time it would have saved me. It's so exciting that I've actually thought to myself, I wonder if I could talk my husband into starting an excavating business again, just so that I could use this tool, because I think it's so fun and exciting. I was so excited to be shown this tool by the product team. And just so that you know, you do not have to use our payroll service to be able to use the payroll scanner. It is available for anyone with a pro subscription. So if you get a chance, go in there and just take a peek at it. It's super fun to use. What else can you do? So we've talked a lot about BusyBusy, and we've talked a lot about the features that may be underutilized from within the product. And I think we've shared a lot with possible future BusyBusy users about how we can help them day to day. But here are some things you can do that you might not already be doing from an overall standpoint. The first is share the wealth. Include your foremen, supervisors, and managers in the approval process. Utilize a system that allows for multiple levels of approval. You shouldn't have to be the end all be all if you are. And then the other kind of sticky point here is make sure that those supervisors and managers and foremen have enough time to do that for you. Make sure they're setting enough time aside at the end of the day, at the end of the week, to really take a good look at those timesheets and not rush through them. It would be amazing how much payroll waste you can save just by taking the time to really look at things. And then make your employees proactive. This was one we did, and mainly because we were a family-owned business and I could harass everyone into doing what I needed them to do. But create a culture of don't wait for me to ask. Give your employees and teams the time and tools that they need to tell you why their data isn't accurate. Let them fill it out at the end of the day so that you're not having to hassle them. And of course, clear company policies on all things payroll. We've come to know that transparency saves a lot of time on the back end for you, the administrator, answering questions. So if you're sharing how payroll works, what people can expect, and addressing those frequently asked questions, you're going to save yourself some time all the way around. It also shows your employees that you care and that you're okay being transparent. And then here's one that kind of piqued my interest, and not one, since I'm not a current business owner, that I would have ever in a million years thought of, but update your payment method. We typically cut checks and we send a runner out to the field. I was the runner. How often was I the runner, taking myself out there to hand out checks on a Friday afternoon? But now we have things like Venmo and Zelle. So consider, beyond direct deposit, how else you can pay your employees to speed that process up. They certainly would appreciate it. And then what else can you do? Well, go paperless if you haven't already. Some of you are on here are already existing BusyBusy users, so we know you have, but some of you haven't. We would tell you that the number one competitor for BusyBusy isn't another software, it's paper. It is so commonplace in our industry that we really, going paperless is going to save you a ton of time. And ask for help. Don't struggle. You're not alone. Most time tracking and payroll applications, whether you use BusyBusy and whether or not you're interested in the BusyBusy payroll product or not, they all have great help centers. They all have chats. They all have phone support. At BusyBusy, the support team is one of my teams, as the director of client success, and I am so proud to say that they actually respond to our chats in under 3 minutes. So it's not like QuickBooks where you're going to expect an answer back in 3 days. But reach out, ask for help. And lastly, integrate your time tracking system with a reliable and easy payroll program if you haven't already. Our payroll program is pretty simple. You just click a couple buttons and all of that data that you've spent so much time making sure is accurate and collecting throughout the week goes right into your payroll system. So we'd love to chat with you about that as well. It's just not something we can show because everybody's so different. And so the last thing I'm going to leave you with is this quote from Bobby Unser, that success is where preparation and opportunity meet. We've really worked hard, and the development team, all of our teams have worked hard to create a product that gives you the opportunity to do the things that you need to do to really decrease payroll waste by huge percentages. And it may be 10%, it may be 67%, but with today's economy being what it is and the labor market being what it is, every penny helps. So we'd love you to take the opportunity to be prepared and to do your homework and find out where that payroll waste might be happening for you, and then reach out to us. And if it's not a tool we have, we'll help you find a tool that'll do that. So at this point, we have time to do some more question and answers. And I'm assuming, Bracken, you might have a couple for me.
I think we have time for a couple. Just to also, again, I'm the girl driving the points home, I guess, but it's always better to be proactive than reactive. And I think that's one thing that I've heard. It's one thing that I've heard hundreds of times, and what we hear from our clients every day is that this BusyBusy helps you do that. So better to be proactive than reactive. So I'll leave you with that. But we do have a couple of questions. So one of them here, you kind of answered this, Christi. You mentioned that you love the payroll scanner, and you wish you would have had that when you were in the excavation business. But Sage from Pocatello saying, if you were still in the excavation business, what tool in BusyBusy would you be focusing on today that you didn't have before?
Well, certainly the payroll scanner is just super fun and makes double checking your data really easy. That verifying process becomes minutes when you use that payroll scanner. But I think I did some onboarding for BusyBusy when I came out of the construction industry and into the SaaS space. And the other one that I really loved was the injury report. And for two reasons. One, you highlighted that it gives you an opportunity to make sure that something didn't happen off of the clock. So those yeses are even less important than the no's. I wasn't injured today. But the yeses are hugely important too, because I want to stay compliant. And for example, one of my only workers' comp claims in my excavation administration days was a guy jumped into a window well and landed on a nail. And that doesn't seem all that unusual, but the unusual part was that his brother pulled him out of the window well, took his boot off, checked that he had, punctured his foot and got him all wrapped up. And then his brother jumped into the window well and managed to land on the exact same nail. And they were so embarrassed. It took them 3 days to actually bring it to my attention. And I needed them to go get those shots. I needed them to make sure that those nails weren't going to cause them any long-term injury. So I would say that probably my other favorite would be those questions that we can ask at the beginning of day and the end of day to just let me sleep a little bit better at night.
Well, we all want everybody to be safe on the job. Okay, cool. Another question, I hope I'm understanding this one right. Carlos asked if there's a Spanish option. If you're asking if the app is available in Spanish, yes. If their phone is in Spanish, then the app will be in Spanish. But if you're asking if the payroll scanner is available in Spanish, I'm not 100% sure. Christi, do you know the answer to that one?
I don't know the answer to that one because that feature is so new. I haven't played with it in flipping back and forth from the language. I believe it is. If it's not, it will be.
Okay, perfect. And we can find out, Carlos, and let you know.
Absolutely.
Let's see. I have another question for you, Christi, and then I think we'll be about out of time. Oh, okay. Thanks. I meant that for Spanish. Okay. Yes, app is available for Spanish speaking. If your phone's in Spanish, the app will be in Spanish. So
Excellent.
that's what he was asking. Okay, one other question for you that I think we have time for. Where did it go? You guys, I should be better at Zoom. Let's see. Okay, here it is. So Sonia's, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Sonia is asking, if we pay travel time from the shop, can you use location-based reminders for that as well? Can it be used for switching cost codes also?
Okay, so that's a two-part question, and I have a two-part answer for you. Yes, you can still use the location reminders and the on-site required for tracking travel time. We have some creative ways to set that up with some sub-projects to where it's not cumbersome if you have like a trucker, but it also allows them to clock in at the shop, and then it allows them to switch when they get to whatever job site they're on. So we definitely can spend some time with you getting that set up. And when you ask, can it be used for switching cost codes too? We do have some new reminders on the roadmap in regards to switching up projects and cost codes. We currently, it's a clock in and a clock out kind of reminder, but the switch function is getting some reminders added to it here in the near future. So keep your eyes peeled for those, and you'll see those come out here pretty quick.
That's exciting. I didn't know that. Cool. Okay, one last question. Promise this is the last one, and I
Sure.
hope I don't slaughter this name as well. I'm just not even gonna say it. I'll pronounce it wrong. So, we're being asked, is there an option to have separate locations for employees if we have them working in 2 different locations? So,
Ask me that again.
is there an option to have separate locations for employees? We have them working in 2 different locations. So if I'm understanding correctly, your employees can have the ability to clock into many different projects. I think that's what I'm understanding, but they couldn't be clocked into 2 places at once because they couldn't be in 2 places at once, is how I'm understanding it. But
Yeah.
you can have them clock into many different projects.
Yeah, and we'll grab Carlos's last question. Can a supervisor clock in their crew? Absolutely. Supervisor tools is another thing that we would love to spend some time with all of you. That level of accountability and having your supervisors clock in their crews can be super helpful when it comes to reducing payroll waste and speeding up the process for everyone involved.
Yep.
All right. Well, Bracken, is that all the questions you had for me today?
I think that's all of them. At least that's all that we have time for today. It looks like we might have to message some of you guys and make sure we answered those correctly, because that last one threw me for a loop. I don't know if I read it right. So want to make sure we get that answered for you. But yeah, I think that's everything. So this recording will be available if you joined a little bit later on. I know some people did. We'll send that to you so you can finish it up. And then, like Christi said, our customer service is awesome. Always here to answer questions for you guys, and we'll be here to help you out. So thanks, Christi.
We appreciate you guys spending your time with us today. We know how valuable it is, and we hope that we were able to help even a little, but we really hope we were able to help a lot. And we'd love for you to reach out to us so that we can help even more.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your week, y'all.
See ya.